Hey, what's up everyone? DJ Sturf here. I want to explain some strategy behind these office phases, and I always refer to these as nights because of kind of the lighting, and then after that the salvage period I just think of more like midnight because it's like pitch black. So anyway, just by lighting I would call this a night, but it's an office phase. It's not clear as to whether the people are eating pizza while you're doing this during the day or the night. You would think more customers would come in during the night unless you're on a weekend, and this is not. This is Monday right here. So I'm in a quiet setting right here. There are no animatronics in. I don't have any liability risk. I haven't purchased Lefty, because you can purchase Lefty and have Lefty in the facility on night one. But I don't have anyone here. So first, motion detection. I would not use this on any end game type of thing, but if you're trying to learn the tendencies of the animatronics and where they're headed, or if you can't hear during the normal part of the night, even late in the night, and you can't tell whether the sounds are coming from the left or the right, you can go to motion detection really fast and then turn to the vent and flash, okay? Just hold it there. And if an animatronic is in the vent, you'll hear vent noises. I would shut off the fan if you can. If you're doing a task, you can't really cancel it, so I would just shut off the fan, and that's it. I would leave your computer on, though. I haven't seen a really good use for turning your computer off. But anyway, with the temperature of the fan, you see the temperature of the facility in the lower right corner there. You would think customers would be pretty aggravated, but maybe this is just the room. But the ventilation here, it gets very hot very quickly. And you can go up to 119 degrees and still be fine, but if you hit 120, the screen just flashes red and then it says passed out. So you can't hit 120. It doesn't even say 120, I don't think. It's just kind of like 119 and then whoop, red. So that's passed out. Maybe I'll show that at the end of this video. But motion detection is good for early on in the game and learning where the animatronics are actually headed. But if you're trying to win the night, I would not go with motion detection. The silent ventilation, this one over here, you notice here, you click silent ventilation. It seems to add a little bit when the fan is running, but I believe that what this is doing is just making it quiet in the animatronics' ears, because you don't actually get a sound decrease on the fan and the white noise that's drowning out all the rest of the noise by turning on silent ventilation. And it doesn't cool the place on its own, so if I turn the fan off right now, I mean, look at that. The temperature's going up in the lower right corner there. It's 66, 68, 70, 72. So it goes up at seemingly random intervals, but I wouldn't actually use the silent ventilation. Interestingly though, if you turn the computer off with silent ventilation on, it doesn't actually turn off the silent ventilation. You see the icons in the lower right? It does seem to turn off the motion detection and audio if those are on. But let's get to what you should actually do outside of the flashing the vents. One, when I start the night, I go to audio and I plop down an audio magnet, and I call it an audio magnet for a reason. I usually put it here. If I have 4 animatronics active and I see 3 reactions to it, because you'll see the reactions of the animatronics, it'll be a triangle with an exclamation mark in it, and that's the animatronics responding to it. If I see 3, or I don't know if I would see 4. I mean, if I see 3, I know the majority of the animatronics are going to be influenced by that audio source, by that music. If I don't see the majority there, I plop it down on the other side and then I do my tasks. Alright, so this right here, treat it like a booby trap. Remember in Five Nights at Freddy's 3 when you played that BB audio and Springtrap is usually attracted to that noise, but not always? And it seems to be later on in the game, there's a less likelihood that Springtrap is going to be fooled by that noise and be pulled into that room. It seems to be the same dynamic here. So, say you have Molten Freddy, and Molten Freddy is over at the top, or, you know, it could be Springtrap or whatever. We'll just go with Molten Freddy. So Molten Freddy moves over here, Molten Freddy moves over here, and then, there's the noise. So say it's early on in the game. There's probably like, you know, say it's an 80% chance that Molten Freddy is going to move over here. That saves you a whole lot of grief. Note also that putting an audio source here, an audio magnet on this side, does not prevent an animatronic from entering into the vent from that side. So you're still going to be listening with your stereo headphones. Make sure it's not surround, because if you're in surround mode, you're not going to hear exactly where that audio is coming from. This is kind of going to be all over the place. So stereo headphones, if you hear vent noises, like kind of like a clinking type of noise from the left ear, then you're going to have to go over here. I would, if you can, shut off your fan, your ventilation there, and then wait until the noises are gone. It's interesting too because you can have animatronics in both the left and right vents, and that gets a little sticky because if that happens, you're going to want to make sure as little as possible is on. I would still keep your computer on, but I mean, if you want to shut it off in that case, I understand. But just go left to right, left to right. Just make sure your mouse is still on the screen if you have multiple monitors, and just make sure you're flashing enough on each side to have some movement in the vents. You'll hear more vent noises. If you don't get jump scared, that's good. We're at 100 degrees. Just remember, you can't hit 120. That's the guideline for the ventilation. And sometimes you're just going to have the worst luck, and I mean, random number generation, RNG, random events, stuff's going to happen. At some point, you probably run into a scenario in which you can't really win. But I haven't really run into a scenario that causes that completely. So, so this audio magnet will kind of booby trap animatronics into going over to this area right here. If an animatronic, say Molten Freddy is over here, say there's still a chance that Molten Freddy is going to be able to go down here. After that, Molten Freddy can go into the vent, and then you're going to have to make sure that you're flickering your light, and it's just you just hold your you just go over to this area and it's automatic flash. Okay, Scott went a little cheap with the actual events here because there's no animatronic images here, but you kind of you hear the sounds, and sometimes you'll hear the audio from the animatronics if they're fairly close. Okay, so that's the audio magnet. After that, I go directly to the tasks. So it's usually like, okay, it's like boom, and if I see a bunch of triangles, I'm like, okay, cool, let's go to tasks. But if I don't, then I'm like boom, and then I'm like, oh, there's nothing here. All right, there, and then I will know that I plopped the audio on the left, so I'm going to have less activity on the left, and I'll mostly be turning to the right. So what I'm expecting is right ear most of the time if I'm hearing vent noises. Then the first thing I do, well, I would recommend getting the equipment because it speeds things up. The X2 printer doesn't double your speed though. It doesn't. It goes from 17 to 13 seconds. But I first go to advertising because the printers are so loud, it's just ridiculous, and I don't want that late in the game. So I would print flyers, and when you click this, so I'm going to click it, all right? So pretend I start, then I plop down the audio, then I go over, I'm like advertising, and I'm going to print the flyers. Since I plop the audio on the left side, I turn to the right. And this is just in case I hear the vent noises and all that, but I mean, I'm playing it safe. So at this point, I'm already faced the direction in which I'm most likely to have the activity against me, and then if I hear something, I'll just be like, okay, let's turn the fan off. Let me really hear. After you hear that little tick noise, even with an animatronic here, I usually just go back, I start the next task, and then immediately go back, and I keep the audio off. And maybe that's a little bit too face-forward, like face-first activity, melee style, but I just get stuff done, and that's it. I just get stuff done. Another thing, too, if you have a bunch of ads and you turn and face your monitor with a printer or some long activity running, if you run into an ad and you're not done with that task, it will reset that task, and you have to do it all over again from scratch. It's very annoying. But don't turn and face the screen, if at all possible, until that one's done. You hear that little tick noise. The exception there would be if you hear an animatronic over here and you run into an ad. Oh, that's trouble, but just try to turn as fast as you can and just flash to that side, okay? But the printer takes the longest. Without any upgrades, it's 17 seconds to do a printer task, so advertising. And with the X2 printer, it's 13 seconds. So it's not much improved, and it's definitely not double speed. But then I usually, after that, I'll go to maintenance. And these are kind of nice because they're very quiet. So if I do an unclogged toilets task and I have the fan off, I can really hear. One strategy would be to do this last, because late in the night, if you get a lot of activity and you click on that, I mean, listen, it just there's no like plunger noises for unclogged toilets or anything like that. But you want to remain on whatever side, and especially I had the audio over on the left, so I would probably be over here looking, unless I heard something on the left. And again, if there's left, right, I think I've already said that. You just kind of alternate between the two and hope that no ad pops up and no jump scares occur. But then last I would do the order supplies. These take 9 seconds apiece without any upgrades, and more like 6 2/3 seconds with the upgrade, so with the high-speed modem. And that's really it in terms of the strategy. You just want to be listening for vent noises on the left and right. You want to keep it moving with the tasks, even with an animatronic in the vent. If you have a really low temperature and you're kind of halfway through or late in the night, you may want to, when you're doing tasks, also just shut off the ventilation or the fan, and watch your temperature. Just make sure it's still reasonable. That little tick noise right there, that's what you want to listen to. And yeah, just win the night, you know? It's not that bad. I think this is by far the easiest of all the Five Nights at Freddy's games in terms of the office phase dynamics here. But it's still pretty fun. Again, motion detection, good for tutorial, so if you want to learn where the animatronics are and where they go, that would be one way to do it. Just make sure that you don't just stare at this when the animatronic is actually in a vent, because then you're asking for trouble. Also, if an animatronic is in a vent and then you switch over and plop down an audio source, you have a chance of the animatronic jump scaring you instantly. So I think doing a task from scratch also makes the animatronic a little angry at you. Like, what is this dude doing? So I wouldn't do that. But again, if you have a use for silent ventilation, just let me know. I think if there were a much harder mode, or if you wanted to do something completely flawlessly, you could also shut off your computer, but also you are running the risk of undoing your audio, and then both sides are fair game for the animatronics, so I wouldn't recommend it. Click on Helpy's nose. I don't know if this is actually adding to the audio in the animatronics' ears, but it's not really an advantage to click on Helpy's nose ever, because you hear it. What would really be nice in silent ventilation is if it decreased the volume in your ears, but anyway, it doesn't. So I would just go to audio again. It's just the way to go, I think, here. So anyway, if you have any liability risk, you're prone to getting random animatronics in your facility. You can also get Lefty in your facility by night 1 if you purchase Lefty ever. You have a friend for life with Lefty, I guess. Actually, Lefty's a trap for the puppet, with the lullaby music involved as well to keep the puppet appeased inside. Kind of crazy, but I guess a trap's a trap, right? That's really it. You just do all these tasks, then you click, then you go to tasks, log out. One thing as well, and I think I mentioned it, but maybe I didn't. I would really limit your ads. Your ads should be few and far in between. I would do 1 ad max, maybe 2, but you can go through the nights without any ads and still get really everything. You just have to play the games well and be smart with your purchases. Be optimized. And if you want to see a good strategy for that, my blacklisted run is very, very optimized. I get Lefty by night 1, so I mean I'm in the last catalog and buying pretty baller gear. But yeah, ads do add quick revenue, but whenever you're facing the screen and running a task, you have a chance of it showing an ad and resetting your progress, as well as leaving you open to an animatronic attacking you if he or she is an event. Alright, so that's pretty dangerous. If you're getting 4 ads or 4 sponsorship offers and taking them, that's just asking for trouble. So I wouldn't recommend that. Unless later on there's a mode where you have to do it. And that gets annoying. They can pop up end of night as well, like right when you're about to log off. It's like if an ad hasn't appeared for that one sponsor, you have a chance of that happening as well. So it's dangerous, but if you need the quick money up front, I would consider the first night to be the time to buy that sponsorship deal, but that's it. Then you would get 1 ad a night, which you can usually manage. But it's really better not to have ads. So I mean, if you had a YouTube video and you had ads like every minute, that would be bad. So less ads, I think, are better. In this case, that's the thing to remember. So anyway, basically plop down audio, do your tasks, keep it moving, flash the stay by default in the vent that you're not playing the audio toward, and just keep resolute as to the actual vent sounds, because you still can hear something from the side that you're playing the audio on. It's just going to be less frequent, just statistically. And then buy the equipment if you can. That's really it. All right, so I'm hoping that helps. Just tear this game up, you know? But anyway, just remember this is a game as well. If you're not having fun with the game, take a break from it. Just chill out. Not really worth getting stressed over. But this game isn't terribly difficult, but I think the blacklisted route is definitely the hardest because you get the most animatronics. And I think in my run, like I had all the animatronics there, I think by night 3, but I'm pretty sure certainly from night 4. And that gets a little hectic, but it's still all manageable. Sometimes you're going to be a victim of just random number generation, or random events again, where say you have four on one side, or they spawn really close to the vents anyway, and you have a vent goer very, very quickly, that type of thing. Or say you've bought a few ads and you probably shouldn't have, and then you're about to turn to one side and it's like, oh, ad, then you're probably going to get jump scared. So everything plays into, like, all your decisions play into what happens during the nights, but sometimes just the random placements of the animatronics also affect whether it's really realistically winnable or whether you should probably just play it again. And if you don't win, just play it again. And there's no deletion of your game unless you go bankrupt. That actually does delete your game. But if you're going for, say, completionist or blacklisted, yeah, just keep trying. So practice makes a lot better. We're never going to be perfect, but practice can make a lot better. So anyway, I hope these help. And again, peace. God bless you. I hope you have fun playing this game. Yeah, it's a pretty novel game. It had a lot of interesting secrets there too. That's about it. And bootleg Freddy. Yeah. All right. Check you later. Peace.